Okay, hi, I'm back. Sorry, I happened to find it in my dishwasher. All right, so next we're gonna do 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa, which, as you can see, is a big difference. So if I had just done a little bit, it probably wouldn't have been as chocolatey. So we need one, and similar to the flour, you kind of just top off. That's one. And then, I don't know if I have a half tablespoon. I don't think I have a half tablespoon measure. So we're gonna have to get creative and it's half teaspoon and just do the half. So we'll hope we got a half here. Everybody likes chocolate anyway, so if it's a little chocolatey, it won't matter. And then we've got the half. And we're going to use the cocoa and the sugar again. So even though I said to put everything aside, I'm going to pull these back because we need these again. And then it asks for a half a teaspoon, so half of your smaller measure, half a teaspoon of salt. This is another dry ingredient. And with salt, you should never measure over your bowl. You should measure over something else because if you get too much, it will ruin your whole recipe, which I just did. All right, there we go. And then we need, those are all together in here. We need to do some liquid ingredients. So we need to melt some butter, 2 tablespoons of butter, and a half a cup of milk, and the vanilla, the teaspoon of vanilla, and put those all together. So I have to, on my stick of butter, I have to look, and it will give us all these little measurements on the side here, and I need 2 tablespoons. So the bigger marks are the tablespoons, and that's what I'll be cutting off. And I need 2 tablespoons. So 1, 2. And I'm gonna cheat and put it in my microwave real quick to melt that up. I'm gonna have my helper do that. All right. And then we need half a cup of milk. So we go back to the measuring with the half cup. My family's happy that I'm making dessert tonight. I usually just do the dinner stuff and then we kind of do ice cream or wing it for dessert. So this will be a treat. Oh, I just reread my recipe and I forgot, and it's right here, so I definitely forgot it. I forgot 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So let me add that into my dry. 1, 2. And the baking powder is what makes it more cakey. So that's what's gonna make it rise up a little bit. Maybe if you've done something in like a science class with that, you've seen how it will react and make things, make it like bread, like kind of grow a little bit. All right. Now we have the melted butter coming, and then we need a teaspoon. So we're going to go back to our smaller, thank you, Maddie. We have the melted butter and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Smells so good, but trust me, it doesn't taste good until it's into your recipe. Don't try this unless you've cooked it into something. It's nice and bitter. Oh, and we got a little extra, so it's going to be very vanilla. All right. Okay, so now we're going to mix all of this liquid together with the butter, the milk, and the vanilla. And we're going to add let's go through and make sure we did everything. 1 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of sugar, 1½ tablespoons of cocoa, 2 teaspoons of the baking powder, which I did forget, but I added that in, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then we have the liquid, the melted butter, the milk, and the vanilla. We're going to add that to our dry ingredients. And while I've been doing all this, my oven, I set my oven to 350 degrees. And it's already hot, I can tell because it beeped right before we started. You don't want to put something in that tells you what temperature you need until you know that it's nice and hot. And then we mix this up, and it basically is starting to look like brownies or a cake mix, and it smells delightful, like chocolate. I think this would be a great thing for all of you to try at home. So far I haven't had too much difficulty. All right, so we're going to put this into a little baking. It mixed up nicely. It's nice consistency. Make sure you get all your dry ingredients to mix in. And then we're going to put this into our mixing bowl. And some recipes will call for greasing your bowl first or your pan, but this didn't call for that, so we're just going to go by what the recipe said and hope that Mrs. Dooley and I have the same results at the end. Alright, so that is the cake portion, and now I'm going to turn on the water. I have to measure some water because we have to add a cup of boiling water to the top of this whole thing. So let me get that started. Oh, actually I have it in there. See how quickly we can get that to boil up. And while we're doing that, we'll just spread this out. I assume we need to spread it out a little bit. Has everybody been staying inside a lot with all of this? Up here in the Boston area, we haven't really had very nice weather yet. We've had a couple of days that we've felt good about going outside, but lots of cold, lots of rain, so we're kind of stuck inside. I hope you've been staying in and being smart, but getting out a little bit too in the nice weather. Mrs. Dooley told me it's much nicer down there. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we need to mix a little bit of sugar and cocoa together, and then we dump that on the top, we add the boiling water, and we mix it in a little bit, and off it goes to the oven. So we need we need 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So we don't have a 3/4 of a cup measure, but we do have a 1/4 of a cup, and we do have a 1/2 of a cup. And when I went to school, a 1/4 and a 1/2 made 3/4. So that's what I'm going to use to put my 3/4 of a cup of sugar in. So we'll start with the 1/2, which is a little wet from the milk. That's the 1/2. And then, let's see if I can read the right one, 1/4. And then we need 3 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of cocoa. Now I know why these cooking shows always have helpers. 3 tablespoons. So here's 1. 2, 3 tablespoons. We'll give that a little mix. Smells good. And my water is boiling. So we will need 1 cup of boiling water. And I hope this is right. I'm just going to dump this on the top. Sprinkle it all over the top. Wow. And then these are noisy. I'm going to measure with my glove. 1 cup of water. Nope. Might want help with this one. Dump it on the top. And the question is, because it's such an old recipe, this is a recipe from her mother. I'm not sure whether we stir it or not, but it looks like it needs a little stir, so I'm going to give it a quick stir. The recipe doesn't really specify that, but we're going to give it a quick stir. I don't know whether I was supposed to stir it or not. Alright, here we go. So let's see whose comes out the best, right? Looks like it needs a big stir still. Doesn't look too pretty right now, but I'm going to put this in the oven. Like I said, 350 degrees for a half an hour, and then I'm going to send Mrs. Dooley the results of how this cooks up. I hope you guys stay safe and healthy, and don't be worrying about missing the end of this year. There'll be lots more school to come. Take care.